Tomorrow you wake up and something is missing, not your hearing. The alarm buzzes. A car passes outside, but the voice that normally says, 5 more minutes, is gone. You try saying your own name silently. Nothing. You see the room. You know where you are and who you are. The narrator has disappeared. But your thoughts have not vanished. They have simply lost their words. That voice is a tool, not your mind. And over the next 24 hours, you are going to discover what that voice was secretly doing for you, why losing it may feel like freedom at first, and why the most frightening part is not the silence. It is realizing that you are still in there. You sit up. Normally, this is when the commentary begins. Too early. Bad sleep. Where is my phone? Why did I say that yesterday? Today there is only the cold floor beneath your feet and the pale light through the curtains. You reach for your phone, 3 messages. You recognize the names. You understand every word. But you do not hear the sentences inside your head as you read them. The meaning simply arrives. For a few seconds, this feels extraordinary. There is no voice judging the photograph of yourself. You almost post no voice replaying last night's conversation. No voice turning a 2-word reply into a criminal investigation. For once, your mind is not a courtroom. It is just a room. Maybe this is peace. Then you walk into the kitchen and forget why you are there. You look at the counter, the kettle, the cupboard. The keys normally, your inner voice would leave little instructions behind. Coffee, shower, keys, leave by 8, tiny verbal signposts guiding you through the morning. Now the signposts are gone, you still know how to make coffee. Your hands perform the familiar sequence without explanation. But when 3 tasks compete for your attention, they no longer line up and wait their turn. They arrive. Together as a pressure with no names. You open the fridge, close it, open it. Again. Something was needed. You cannot hold the word in place. Milk. You say it. Aloud. Milk. Your voice works perfectly. That is the first surprise. Losing inner speech does not mean losing language. You can speak, read, and understand other people. You have not become less intelligent. Your thoughts have not vanished. They have changed form. Some arrive as pictures, some as physical urges, some as a complete understanding that appears before any sentence could explain it. You do not internally say, "The cup is about to fall." Your hand simply catches it, and this is not pure fantasy. Some people report having little or no inner speech in everyday life. Researchers recently proposed a name for the low end of that experience, anendophasia. It does not mean an empty mind. People describe thinking through images, sensations, emotions, concepts, or words that carry meaning without seeming to make a sound. There may be no narrator, but the story continues. At first, that discovery calms you. You are still you, then your phone lights up again. Can we talk later? 4 harmless words. Usually, your inner voice would produce 12 possible disasters before breakfast. They are angry. You did something wrong. They are leaving. This time, no sentences arrive, but your chest tightens anyway. Your stomach drops. A dark scene flashes through your mind. Their face turned away from you. The voice is gone. The anxiety is not. That is the second surprise. Your inner voice did not create every feeling. Sometimes it only explained a reaction that had already begun. Sometimes it made the reaction worse. Sometimes it helped you challenge it. Without words, fear can still live in the body. It just loses its subtitles. You get dressed and leave the house. The street feels unusually. Immediate colors seem brighter because nothing is describing them. You hear fragments of conversation without preparing your own response. For once, you are not half listening to the world and half listening to yourself. Then someone you know waves from across the road. They walk towards you. Normally, you would rehearse. Smile. Ask about work. Do not mention the awkward thing. Do I look tired? Now there is no rehearsal. They say hello, and you answer. The words appear out loud, without first passing through a private audition. The conversation is messier. You pause longer. You say one thing you would normally edit, but you also notice their expression more clearly. The small delay before they say they are fine. The way their hands tighten around the coffee cup. Without your narrator filling every silence, the other person becomes easier to hear. For a moment, you wonder how much of your life you have spent talking to people who were competing with the voice inside your head. By midday, the silence no longer feels peaceful. It feels exposed. You sit down to work and face a difficult decision. 2 options, neither obviously right. Normally, you would argue with yourself. If I choose this, then that might happen, but if I wait, I could lose both. Your inner speech can act like a small mental workbench. It lets you place an idea down, inspect it, move it, and compare it with another. Researchers have linked inner speech with verbal memory, planning, self-control, and switching between rules. When people are prevented from using verbal rehearsal, some tasks become harder. In one early study, people who reported very little inner speech found certain word memory and rhyme tasks more difficult than people who reported a lot of it, but they were not worse at everything. That matters. The inner voice is not the engine of intelligence. It is one instrument in the orchestra. Take it away, and the music does not stop. But some passages become harder to play. So you borrow an external voice, you take out a piece of paper. Option 1. Option 2. For the first time today, your thoughts remain still long enough to examine. Writing becomes a temporary inner voice placed outside the body. And suddenly you notice something uncomfortable. The voice you lost this morning was never entirely yours. Some of its sentences came from a parent trying to protect you. Some came from a teacher who embarrassed you once. Some came from a friend, an advert, a stranger, an old version of you who learned that criticism felt safer than surprise. Your inner voice speaks in your tone, but it carries a crowd. That is why it can say, "I am not good enough," with the confidence of a fact. It has repeated the sentence so often that familiarity begins to sound like truth. Late in the afternoon, you make a mistake, a small one. You send the wrong file. Miss an appointment? Forget something you promised to do. You wait for the attack. Idiot, you always do this. Why can't you get anything right? Nothing comes. There is embarrassment. There is a hot face and a wish to reverse time, but there is no prosecutor turning one mistake into your entire personality. The event remains its actual size. For the first time, you can separate pain from commentary. And now the silence feels less like losing something. It feels like being released from someone who had your voice, but not always your best interests. Then evening arrives. You return home, put down your keys, and sit in the same room where the day began. There is nobody to speak, to no task to complete, no noise left to borrow. You try to remember a person you miss. Their face appears, their laugh. A room you once shared, but the sentences you used to say to them in private are gone. You cannot silently ask the question you never asked aloud. You cannot rehearse the apology. You cannot hear the version of their voice that memory kept alive, and the silence becomes lonely. Because inner speech is not only a manager or a critic, it can be company. It can let you revisit the past, prepare for the future, encourage yourself through something difficult, or create the feeling that someone is beside you when nobody is. The same voice that traps you inside an embarrassing moment can also say, "Keep going. You have survived this before." You finally understand the bargain. The inner voice can wound you because it is close enough to reach everything, but that closeness is also what allows it to guide you. At midnight, exactly 24 hours after it disappeared, one sentence returns, quietly at first, not through your ears, from somewhere that feels like you, but is not the whole of you. Are you still there? And the strange thing is, you already know the answer. You were there before the sentence. You were there in the image, the feeling, the decision, the hand catching the cup. The voice was absent. You were not. That may be the most important thing your inner voice can teach you. It is part of your mind. It is not the owner of your mind. When it says, "Everyone is judging you," that is a sentence, not surveillance. When it says, "You always ruin everything," that is a habit, not a verdict. When it replays the worst moment of your life, that is your mind attempting to protect, prepare, or explain you. It is not proof that you deserve to remain there. You do not need to silence your inner voice to become free from it. You need to change your relationship with it. Sometimes that means answering it. Sometimes it means writing the thought down and examining it in daylight. Sometimes it means speaking to yourself, as you would speak to someone you were responsible for helping. And sometimes it means noticing the voice. Then returning to the world, it keeps interrupting. Tomorrow morning, the alarm sounds again. The familiar commentary begins. Too early. Bad sleep. 5 more minutes. But now, before obeying it, fighting it, or mistaking it for yourself, you notice something you could not see yesterday. There is the voice, and there is the one listening. The voice asks, "Are you still there?" This time you answer, "Yes." And then you choose what it says next.